Around the world, people are encountering a strange phenomenon. They're known as mystery lights, and they appear without warning or explanation, sometimes moving at frightening speeds.
We have measured the speed on the radar up to 30,000 kilometers an hour.
Scientific and governmental inquiries around the world continue to come up empty. Begging the question, are the lights real? Or are they something paranatural? Boulder, Colorado, 2006. A group of friends gather around a bonfire. On the horizon, a storm approaches. At first, there is only lightning and thunder. Then, something strange appears in the sky. It's not a plane. They can't explain it. But scientists have a name for it. They call it a mystery light. Unexplained lights like these have appeared in remote areas across the United States before. Marfa, Texas. Widely considered one of the most infamous mystery light hotspots in the United States. Thousands of tourists travel to this remote desert area every year to see mystery lights for themselves.
Look at that. Now that looked a little different.
The desert is sparsely populated, so there is no urban or industrial source to explain all the glowing orbs. These lights are UFOs in the truest sense of the word.
We saw lights plain as day. At first, we did not know what to expect. Then we saw what was obviously lights just bouncing around on the horizon.
Oh, now look at that. Whoa. Now that looked a little different.
Reviewing this footage in slow motion shows something extraordinary. One light disappears just as another one jettisons across the horizon. Then both simultaneously disappear. Behavior like this causes many to believe there is an intelligence behind the lights.
They move up and down, they go behind each other, and they sort of twirl around and change color.
Some encounters with the lights have been a little too close for comfort.
1994, my family was out here visiting me, and we came out to view the Marfa lights. I have always thought the Marfa lights were very interesting, just because it's a phenomenon that no one can explain. We didn't expect to see anything different, but that night it was very, very different. Something was just totally out of the ordinary.
After a few hours viewing the Marfa lights, Lydia and her family decide to make their way home. As they drive down the empty highway, they suddenly realize they aren't alone.
What is that?
One of those lights. No, Joe, stop. It's chasing us.
I started getting really scared because they were saying, is that one of those lights? And I was like, I don't want it to catch us.
I think it is one.
The strange light follows them down the road.
It started to grow, and we got very excited at that point.
Joe,
It looks different.
And we said, no, that's one of the lights.
Suddenly, another car appears in the oncoming lane. It's on a collision course with the ball of light.
The light appeared to almost have a sense that it knew, or it was frightened. The light shrunk, disappeared, and the car just stepped on its brakes as if it had appeared to have seen the lights also.
It's an experience they'll never forget.
To this day, I know what I saw. We couldn't have all seen the same thing and just made it up.
Stories like Lydia's make researcher James Bunnell all the more eager to get to the bottom of this mysterious phenomena.
It's a nice, intriguing puzzle, and I love puzzles. You might draw an analogy to trying to solve a crime, where you have a few clues and you go investigate those clues and you try and deduce what all that adds up to.
His experience as a NASA aerospace engineer has equipped him with useful skills in the study of lights. Bunnell's constructed these autonomous remote viewing stations to continuously monitor the region for the lights. The cameras turn on automatically at night and output video to a digital video recorder. They've documented unexplained phenomena like this strange halo of light on the horizon.
There were a total of 5 mystery lights that night. They were larger and more intense than any that we had seen before or since. They seemed to be connected to the electrical activity that was going on. It was a very stormy night. Early in the sequence, there were 2 small mystery lights. They shone briefly and went out, and then a third one came along that became the halo mystery light, and that halo was 1 mile wide and half a mile high.
The halo illuminates the night sky like big city lights, only there's nothing but desert where it appeared. Despite the large amounts of data he's collected, Bunnell has yet to discover what's causing the Marfa lights. However, he does have a theory, one that suggests the lights are caused by something of this Earth.
I suspect that there is a chemical process going on.
His theory is backed up by his own photographic evidence.
I've seen tangible residue in some of my photographs in the sense that I can see things falling out of a light as it starts to lose energy. They will sometimes kind of have something drop toward the ground.
And he's spoken to eyewitnesses who say they've touched these remnants.
They went out one night on a ranch road and they managed to see a flock of these mystery lights flying over. And one of them seemed to slow down and start descending. It landed on the roadway not far away. The minister went over and he picked up the light, the remnant that remained, on the tip of his finger. It was something that had tangible residue.
If the mystery lights consist of a unique chemical cocktail, then the lights might leave behind a spectral fingerprint that could tell us exactly what they're made of.
Different lights do have different light signatures. As you know, all light is frequency, and we have white light as a mixture of all the frequencies. When we start looking at an individual light, like for example, sodium vapor light, that involves sodium. It's in a plasma state, and it provides a very distinctive characteristic pattern.
To see this pattern, Bunnell sets up a scientific instrument called a spectrometer. This rainbow pattern displays the entire visible light spectrum. Different elements reflect only a portion of this light spectrum, represented by these lines. By looking at a light's spectral signature, one can tell what's behind the light source by comparing it to the spectra of various elements. Darkness falls over Marfa. Bunnell patiently observes the valley for lights. Testing the spectrometer on distant, moving lights is difficult and sometimes leads to false hope.
Yeah, there it is. That's too bright.
That's a car light.
Out of nowhere, something strange appears on the horizon.
We've got a light behind you. I just want to take a look at it here. Why don't we get a spectrometer on that?
After some observation, the light disappears. Bunnell's conclusion is less than mysterious.
I think it was a train light.
Bunnell doesn't capture the evidence needed to determine the light's chemical composition and calls it a night.
And therein lies the challenge, is being here at the right time and seeing what we're looking for. Tomorrow night, we'll see what comes.
Undaunted, Bunnell continues his search for answers. 805 kilometers away, a team of investigators head out onto Brown Mountain in North Carolina. Here, many believe the lights have a supernatural cause.
Some people believe that the lights are some ghostly activity that's trapped in these mountains.
Joshua Warren is an author and paranormal investigator who studied the mystery lights at Brown Mountain, North Carolina, for years.
For perhaps hundreds of years, based upon Native American legends, people have seen these strange multicolored spheres of light moving on and around this ridge and in these mountains. Usually they have been considered spirits, ghosts, phantoms of some sort.
Legend has it that in the year 1200, a violent battle took place in this area between warring Native American tribes.
Afterward, the Native American maidens went searching through these bloody piles of corpses at night with torches burning, trying to see if there might possibly be a living soul left on the battlefield. Some people believe that the lights are remnants of that terrible event, some ghostly activity that's trapped in these mountains.
Paranormal investigators refer to this as residual haunting. They believe the negative events can stain an area so that the tragedy replays itself over and over again. But Warren is passionate about getting to the bottom of the mystery lights. To help him find the truth, he assembles a team of experienced paranormal investigators to shed light on them. They'll use a variety of instruments to gather as much information as they can.
How's it looking? Getting everything set up here with the night vision?
Yeah.
Dean Warsing manages the team's night vision gear, their primary observation tool.
Get the lens to come out, and then this just velcros to here.
The night vision goggles will help the team zero in on any light aberration.
Talked about radios. What station you on? 18.
Brian Irish is one of the team's most experienced imaging experts. He's seen the lights before. In 2000, he captured these dancing lights on the side of the mountain.
The one Geiger counter we have, of course, detects beta and gamma and X-ray, of course.
Micah Hanks will keep an eye on the team's Geiger counter to detect any radioactivity in the area. The presence of radiation would provide a major clue as to the source of the lights.
So we should have a monitoring of the entire spectrum here tonight. And of course, with that tri-field meter, you and I are going to have one heck of an observation point over there.
So the more eyes we have on them at once, the better it is.
Chris McCollum will monitor the team's electromagnetic field detector. The team believes the mountainous area's heavy granite deposits might create unusual electromagnetic fields that power the lights.
Ah, John, welcome, sir.
Geologist John Connor arrives to consult with the team.
What are some things that make these mountains in this area special that we might keep in mind as we are sort of gauging the terrain?
The material that's in here is largely granitic and consequently has a high quartz content. The lights might be part of a piezoelectric effect where quartz gets under a strain and will emit a voltage or a charge, much like your igniter on your gas grill. The same thing could be true here.
Let's get ready. Let's do it. All right.
Once the sun sets, the team heads out to 3 separate observation posts. Station 1 is located on the left-hand side of the Brown Mountain overlook. Here, they'll collect readings from the Geiger counter and the EMF detector. Station 2 is the central location. This station will focus on using night vision to spot the lights. Station 3 is to the right of the overlook and will allow the team to see the lights from another angle. These 3 stations will give the team a wide view of the gorge where witnesses usually spot the lights.
The conditions are getting right.
All right, let's do it.
If the lights appear, the team is ready. But they aren't the only ones looking for answers. 64 kilometers away at Appalachian State University's Dark Sky Observatory, astronomer and professor Dan Caton also studies the Brown Mountain lights.
I've been studying the Brown Mountain lights for about 15 years. I try to take a scientific approach, and indeed I think that it's science's responsibility to investigate claims of unusual phenomena.
While Caton concedes the lights are strange, he doesn't believe there's anything supernatural about them.
I think that the best explanation is some kind of phenomenon related to ball lightning.
Ball lightning is a rare phenomenon, sometimes cited in thunderstorms.
Ball lightning is reports of globs of gas that glow and move around and rise out of nowhere and disperse. We don't understand how nature does it, but there's so many reports of it that it is very likely real.
Scientists at the Max Planck Institute in Berlin, Germany, have created clouds that resemble ball lightning. However, the electronically conductive clouds, called plasma, last only half a second before dissipating.
The problem is that plasmas have to be confined in some way. We have that big ball of light overhead we call the sun, and that's a confined plasma kept together by gravity. In the lab, we seem to so far only be able to do it by confining it into a glass container.
To help illustrate this issue, Professor Caton conducts a simple experiment with a standard microwave. The flame confined to the glass container is superheated by the microwave. This energizes the flame, converting it into a hovering plasma ball. But Joshua Warren and his team on Brown Mountain believe the phenomena is much more mysterious. 2 hours into their search, their equipment suddenly goes haywire.
Wow, and I'll tell you what, now this is weird.
The EMF meter spikes,
I've never seen anything higher than 50 on that.
marking a sudden fluctuation in the mountain's magnetic field. Then Station 2 radios in a sighting.
Joshua, come in, over.
This is Station 1 to Station 2.
Hey, Joshua, we are experiencing an anomaly down in the gorge.
Here on my camera, it's right here. You see that? Right above my fingertip. If it's a fire, you would see smoke through the night vision.
Station 3 can still observe an anomaly to our immediate right.
Warren arrives to see for himself.
Okay, I do.
Let me point this out for Josh. Right here, Josh?
They use a laser pointer to point out the anomaly.
I got it.
Okay.
Zeroing in on the light, the investigation intensifies. The mystery light activity on Brown Mountain starts to pick up.
Let's hit it with a thermal camera and see if we can. We ought to be able to figure out if that's a campfire.
All right, I got it.
It doesn't seem to be showing up on the thermal camera. I would expect a fire to, unless it's just out of range.
The team uses a long-range temperature gauge to see if they can rule out fire as the cause.
Baseline 59, 60. It's actually colder. It is definitely colder than the surrounding area.
And then, a dancing ball of light appears in the distance.
Wow, you ever seen anything like that, Josh?
I'm not sure what the heck that was.
What is that? And Josh, it's showing up on night vision blue.
Maybe this is a reflection of some kind.
What the hell was that?
Station 1, over.
Hey, Roger, over.
Okay, just a moment ago, Dean saw and was able to videotape a rather distinct bluish luminous form, and we're trying to see if we can rule out any lasers or other lights. Were you shining any lasers or lights at that station? Over?
No, we've got his green laser, and no, we weren't.
You know what? It looked like it almost manifested again. Oh! Right here, right here.
Suddenly, another light appears in the gorge. It's bright enough to cast light on the trees below, before taking off into the distance.
It shouldn't be blue on night vision.
They can't believe their eyes.
Was there a light being shined that we didn't know about? Because if that wasn't a reflection, I'm not sure what the heck that was.
The next morning, they meet to review the stunning video evidence.
This here, yeah, we filmed for 45 minutes. None of this was visible except via the night vision goggles.
Baseline 59, 60. It is definitely colder than the surrounding area.
If that was a fire, we should definitely got a hot hit. We didn't get a hit. If anything, we got colder.
I don't recall anybody shining any flashlights around, do you?
No.
Yeah, this is much more subtle.
Yeah, this is different. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
cool.
great.
The team wonders about the physics behind the object.
Considering that those little dots are trees, that thing travels a big distance.
Look at this, yeah.
That thing is moving.
The light appears to zoom off into the distance instead of actually going up.
Brian Irish runs the footage through a filter that helps isolate the anomaly.
So watch it here in the negative image. And right there, instead of going straight up, it just goes back in the distance. And here we go. Wow. What do you say as far as scale? Chris, did you say you had something?
That little ridge right there, that particular ridge is maybe 300 or 400 meters long.
The speed of the light on camera, compared to the size of the ridge, indicates it moved unnaturally fast. A daylight photograph of the area gives a better sense of scale. And that's not all they've captured on video.
There's red. Yeah. Was it one of the pointers that you had?
No. I don't know what that red is.
Night vision cameras only capture images in blacks and greens.
It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Just the movement of this, so I'm really not sure what to make of it yet.
I've never seen colors in night vision.
I caught the very end of it.
But you did see the blue, or?
Yes, it was.
I can't explain it.
It almost makes you think that there's something taking place here that's actually distorting the way the equipment is working.
Yeah. Very strange.
If equipment failure is to blame for the strange video data, night vision and imaging experts in Princeton, New Jersey, should be able to tell. Princeton Lightwave develops and manufactures cutting-edge imaging equipment. The technology in their lab is so sensitive they must wear hairnets and special lab coats to avoid bringing excess particles into the room. Dr. Bora Onat has worked on imaging technology for nearly 12 years. Today, he examines Dean Warsing's night vision setup, the one used to capture the Brown Mountain anomaly.
Here's a third-generation night vision device, which is typically used by our armed forces. And basically the way it works is it's able to pick up very low amount of light and able to amplify it and show it to us in a spectrum that we can see it in. This night vision goggles has been modified so that you can actually attach a camera to it, and then you can record the images that are being seen by this night vision goggle. This kind of a setup is actually pretty good for making night vision imagery.
Satisfied Warsing's night vision setup is sound, Dr. Onat brings in his colleague, Dr. Sabir Rangwala, to review the footage gathered at Brown Mountain.
I think this footage clearly shows that something is going or hovering on top of the tree line that you see here. You can even see another reflection of that when it goes around here. You can see another reflection of it following the top of the trees as well. So it seems not to be an issue or a problem with the camera, but it seems like it's actual footage of what's going on.
But the confirmation that the orb is an actual object raises new questions.
Why would this phosphor screen produce a blue image?
Something like this shouldn't really happen.
Yeah. What about the electrons causes this thing to react differently? You know, what's the radiation source?
Yeah. So the only thing I may guess is happening here is that it's a light source that is a more higher energy light source.
Next, they look at the other anomalies.
This green spot here, it seems like underneath the trees there's some kind of a light source, either a campfire or some kind of maybe light.
They think the red light can also be explained.
Is there an LED on the digital camera?
I think in the digital camera, typically they have autofocusing feature, which uses this kind of LED. So we may be seeing a reflection from the autofocusing.
However, the blue anomaly continues to puzzle them. Dr. Onat heads to Princeton's Lightwaves R&D lab to see if he can recreate the blue light source picked up on Dean Warsing's night vision goggles.
So here we have a monochromator device, which is basically controlling the light that we are going to be impinging on the night vision device. And the light travels down this optical fiber all the way to our experiment. And here you can see that the green light right now is shining onto this paper here. So this is the same exact setup that was used that night at Brown Mountain. If we see that we're able to replicate the blue light in this night vision setup, then we'll be able to say that what wavelength of light we were seeing that night in Brown Mountain.
Dr. Onat observes the camera's LCD screen to see if the light turns blue, while his colleague runs through the entire visible light spectrum. But every wavelength appears green. The mystery remains.
We basically went through all of the wavelengths, starting from the UV all the way until the near infrared, and we were not able to replicate the blue color. Which means that what was seen in the footage could have been something that was a higher energy photon, something around, could be a gamma ray, could be X-ray.
The gamma and X-rays naturally occur only in outer space.
At this point in time, we're not really sure of any kind of light that would give out gamma ray or X-ray in that kind of a form. It is unexplained at this point.
It's unlikely that Brown Mountain light comes from any man-made source we know of. If the lights are generated by some unknown high-energy source, where is it coming from? NASA scientist Friedemann Freund thinks he might have an answer. Dr. Friedemann Freund of NASA studies mystery lights like the ones seen just before the 1995 devastating earthquake in Kobe, Japan. Specifically, it was this photograph that caught his attention.
Half an hour before the earthquake, a cloud was rising from the ground like a tornado funnel, but coming from the bottom up, billowing up as if there were a fire. And that is probably the sign of a earthquake light that exploded through the surface at this spot.
Dr. Freund quickly learns this isn't the only instance of strange lights sighted in conjunction with earthquakes. They've also occurred halfway around the world in Peru. Eyewitnesses videotaped these bright bursts on the horizon after an earthquake. And this photograph, taken in the middle of the night during an earthquake, is from Matsushiro, Japan, in 1966.
There are so many reports in the literature from ancient time until recently that people have observed these lights, so we have to take this seriously.
Dr. Freund believes the connection between these sightings is seismic activity. And while researching this theory, he makes an amazing discovery.
Normally rocks are considered insulated, but in fact what my work showed is when rocks are deformed, they turn from an insulator to a semiconductor. They are producing electric currents that can flow out of this squeezed area that could lead to an outburst of light at the surface.
Dr. Freund soon realizes that even natural seismic activity may be enough to create these light effects, and he sets out to prove his theory. This large slab of granite represents the Earth's crust. The goal is to get a current to travel through this rock. Dr. Freund will measure the current with a conductive wire.
Okay, let's start.
1 ton.
The press squeezes the granite with tremendous force.
4 tons. 7.5, 8.
Simulating the forces at work under the Earth's surface.
12 tons.
Now it's rising.
16 tons. 19 tons. 20 tons.
Now we are getting to 1 nanoamp, 1.1, 1.2.
30 tons.
Yep, we can go down.
As predicted, forces exerted on the slab of granite excite an electric charge in the rock, turning it into a battery.
We suppose that the same would happen in the Earth. And the moment it hits the surface and ionizes the air, then the ionized air starts to glow, just like the air or the gas glows in a fluorescent bulb.
Thousands of kilometers away, in a remote valley in Norway, scientists also believe the lights could come from some unknown energy source. But these lights travel at amazing speed and have even touched the ground. Of all the mystery light sightings around the world, some of the most spectacular occur in a remote valley in central Norway.
Å, fy fader! Jeg filmer det, jeg har det på tape! Jeg har det her! Å, dame!
A dedicated group of scientists and researchers from universities around the world have studied the lights in Hesteland for more than 2 decades.
I saw it first time in '82. 25th of September 82, I remember the date. And if you imagine you are in nature and suddenly a huge light is showing up, that impressed me very much.
Fascinated by this personal encounter with mystery lights, Erling Strand contacts his university's research department.
Why are you not doing anything?
When he discovers that no one is researching the bizarre phenomena, he decides to do it himself.
What is this huge light? What is the physics behind it? There must be some kind of power. Where does this power come from? Maybe it's a clean power. Can we use it?
Strand steps up his research effort when not one of his university colleagues can explain the phenomena.
2002, we started the science camps, where we bring young students up here with a lot of instruments, staying here for 1 week, trying to capture the phenomena on film, instrumentation, etc.
Here, the Hesteland lights make a sudden and dramatic appearance.
Det er to! Det er to!
Det er to! Svar! Der kommer jeg!
Oi!
Herregud! Sinnssykt! Å, Ville!
Å, fy fader! Jeg filmer det! Jeg har det på tape! Jeg har det her! Å, dame!
Hva sier du?
Well, after we have done some measurements, we have done some results, we have got some data. And In fact, the more data we get which answers some questions, more questions raise.
Like this pulsating ball of light recorded in 1999. The most stunning event in this video is seen when magnified. A smaller light appears and is sucked up by the larger light. But scientists can only describe what they see. They can't explain it.
Så trenger jeg to som vil se øst.
The students and researchers head out to observation posts scattered around the Hesteland Valley, hoping to measure the light phenomena.
We have measured 3 meters, we have measured 5 meters, and they can illuminate the ground hovering around for hours.
Lysglimt 50 grader over horisonten, over.
Then they spot something unexpected directly below where the lights appeared.
We have also some tracks on the ground, on the snow. No melting of the snow. So it doesn't seem to be any heat into it. And we have made some samples of the snow measuring bacteria. In the snow around, it was normal bacteria. But in the track itself, the bacteria was killed.
This tells researchers the lights interact with the landscape in strange ways. But any explanation remains speculation.
Tar du og melder det ut? The radar just picked up signals outside.
In 1986, Hesteland light researchers filmed this video of a light in the distance that moves unlike anything known to this Earth.
So you have this moving, sharp angles in a high speed, and nothing with any mass can have that moving. So it obviously seems to have no mass. We have all the data with the radar reflecting as strong as it was from a solid object. But we don't see the object. You see several lights on something. It seems to be several lights going on close to each other, following each other. So when it's moving, all the lights is moving. So it's a feeling that there is something it's attacked to. We have measured the speed on the radar up to 30,000 kilometers an hour.
Strand simply can't explain it, but recently declassified government documents may hold the answers. The Norwegian researchers aren't alone in observing the mystery lights. Nick Redfern is an author and paranormal investigator who's investigated mystery lights for years. Nick speaks with many eyewitnesses who believe some form of non-human intelligence is behind the lights.
We have a body of witnesses who've spoken about their experiences, that have spoken about feeling some kind of intelligence emanating from these balls of light, and the fact that they seem to follow intelligent movements, almost like an aircraft flying in some cases.
World War II pilots are among these eyewitnesses.
During the Second World War, there was a phenomenon that was very, very similar to the ghost lights. It became known as Foo Fighters, and these were very fast-moving balls of light that would chase American aircraft, German, British, Japanese, and every country thought it was a secret weapon of the other, which of course it wasn't. And there are some very close parallels between the ghost lights, one being that they seem to exhibit some sort of intelligence. They weren't flying around at random, they were literally chasing aircraft and almost engaging them in dogfights at times.
While some pilots believed the Foo Fighters were a man-made weapon, others, seeing similar objects, believed them to be alien. The British Ministry of Defence commissioned a report to research these balls of light.
The Ministry of Defence investigation came to an intriguing conclusion that close proximity between these lights and human beings could actually have an effect on the human brain, to where it could cause us to hallucinate
and potentially see visual imagery that actually wasn't really there. We're talking about phenomena like ball lightning, unidentified aerial lights, that in strict terms are UFOs, but they're not nuts and bolts spacecraft, and that was the thrust of the Ministry of Defence's report, that there's a real phenomenon that can adversely affect people's perceptions.
In London, the British Ministry of Defence has been researching mystery lights for decades. Recently declassified documents confirm it. One of the reports states that they occur on a daily worldwide basis, and they exhibit aerodynamic characteristics well beyond those of any known aircraft or missile. They're referred to as unidentified aerial phenomena, otherwise known as UFOs. One of the most amazing encounters with an unidentified flying object takes place in 1957. It happens at England's Manston Air Force Base and involves US fighter pilots. The documents reveal the name of one of the fighter pilots, Milton Torres. Today, the retired pilot lives in Florida. He may be one of the only pilots to have engaged a UFO in direct combat. He's kept his story secret for decades, but now that his mission is declassified, he can tell the world what he witnessed.
It was May 20th, 1957. The weather was solid from the ground up. I never saw anything. There was no stars to be seen because of so much weather.
Lieutenant Torres and his wingman climbed to nearly 10,000 meters at full speed.
And I stayed in afterburner.
The target appears on his radar.
This target was going back and forth. It was stopping, it was starting, it was just doing its thing, and we were going to shoot it down. The blip was huge. It was a return on my radar that was similar to what I would have if I was painting an aircraft carrier in the North Sea.
The orders from ground control are crystal clear. Fire all you have at the target.
I had no idea what was going on. This is probably the beginning of World War III.
Despite his hesitations, he prepares to engage.
I locked on, and I was coming in, and at 20 seconds to go, I pulled my trigger, and all of a sudden, my target was leaving me.
What he sees on his radar seems impossible.
By this time, I was going 0.92 Mach, and this is just 92% of the speed of sound is what 0.92 was. This went out about 10 times faster, so this means he was doing something like Mach 10, and he disappeared off the screen.
No plane on Earth can do Mach 10. Ground control orders Torres back to base.
They said, we're sending a man down from the embassy to debrief you on this mission. I found out then that this was what we call a spook.
Torres is told not to talk to anyone about the mission.
I had just gone through school to become a pilot, and I sure didn't want anybody to take it away from me. So that meant I shut my mouth.
Lieutenant Torres keeps his experience secret for the next few decades. When the mission's declassified in 2006, Torres quickly learns he isn't the only pilot to have engaged a UFO.
I found lots of fighter pilots that have seen unusual sightings like this.
Many of these pilots witness mystery lights.
I've talked to other pilots that have seen the lights. I've even talked to pilots that swore it was a UFO, nothing they could do.
As to what he engaged over England, Torres has no idea.
This thing was going so fast, it was beyond anything I could even think about.
The same goes for the British government's research program. There is no explanation for the UFO Lieutenant Torres engaged. It is another encounter without an answer. Around the world, the strange lights continue to arise spontaneously in the sky. Scientists and researchers continue to press forward, hoping one day soon the answers will come.